from Penn State and then try and pushing it forward. We talked a lot in the offseason about linebackers and the depth. And it's been a while, guys, since we've seen or we thought that West Virginia would have as much depth as it would at the linebacker position. Where does that going to show up later in the year? Well, grade-wise, it showed up right away in game one. Trotter and Reed Carrico, your top two graded defenders coming out of that game. Trotter, not a surprise as much as you've heard about him, but to see that actually put into action, really good. Reed Carrico being up there and having a nice game is, I think, massive for this team. That's a former four-star guy, top 100 player, went to Ohio State, transferred back here to West Virginia to add in as a depth piece, but played really well on Saturday. So that adds in another guy potentially as a playmaker moving forward. So having your two highest graded defenders be linebackers for a group that we talked about so much, I thought that came through with flying colors against Penn State. Let's flip over to the offense for a second. Let's talk about Garrett and what needs to happen with him moving forward. It's interesting if you go to the raw counting stats, as they're often called, just the basic numbers, 16 of 27 for 162 last year against Penn State. Saturday, 15 of 28 for 161.
Same thing.
Almost identical. The same game, same deal. But you walked out feeling different, right? Yeah. The head football coach walked out feeling different about Garrett because namely me, I'm touting the guy for the Heisman for as good a year as he had last year. And he just didn't have that game. That maybe surprised me more than anything was that Garrett wasn't elite in that game. Now, if you had told me his numbers didn't look elite because around the edge they had more speed and they cut down a run that's 25 during the Big 12 season, they cut it down to 9. Okay, I could see some of that stuff. But Garrett wasn't his usual self. We saw that. Neil saw that. Garrett saw that. If Garrett was sitting here, he would tell you that. Well, let's put some numbers to that. And as I often say with some of these numbers, a lot of times they will just back up or solidify what you saw with your eyes. This is one of those cases. The 5 best offensive grades for West Virginia coming out of there were 3 running backs, or I'll do top 6, 3 running backs and 3 offensive linemen. Those are your highest offensive grades.
Interesting.
Okay, what's that mean? Well, Garrett was just the 18th best offensive grade on Saturday. There was only one game all of last season that Garrett wasn't in the top 7 graded offensive players.
That's a heck of a number.
Yeah.
That wasn't even OU. Well, that was OU. I'm sorry. That was the OU game. He was 10th in that game. The number of wins where Garrett wasn't in your 5 best grades, just one against TCU. He was 7th. And if you remember in that game, he probably shouldn't have been playing in that game, but you were forced into action because then Nico got hurt that week, and you had to come back with Garrett before he was ready. So it shows you, and again, this is something you know about college football. If your quarterback is producing, you got a chance. If the quarterback is struggling, you're probably going to be in some trouble. That was evident on Saturday. So Garrett's going to be the key to getting you back on track, and we'll come back to this all season. That was just some basic numbers that backed up what you saw on the field. Now these things are tied together. So let's go to explosive plays for a second. When West Virginia's not hitting big explosive plays, it doesn't look anywhere like the offense we saw at the end of the year. West Virginia had as many fumbles on Saturday as it did plays of 20 or more yards.
Yeah, that's a bad stat.
4 total fumbles, of which you lost 2, and 4 plays of 20 yards or more.
Wow.
And they all came in the pass game.
Yeah.
No rushes.
That's not good.
That's a net 0 in that category. So 4 fumbles, again, lost 2 of them. 4 fumbles, 4 plays of 20, net 0. Last year, there were only 2 exceptions where you had numbers like that and you still got a win. Pitt, but that was only 1 turnover and no 20-yard plays or more. You found a way to grind out that win because you got a bunch of turnovers. Texas Tech, you had 2 turnovers and produced just 1 play of 20 yards or more. Now, you had a 19-yarder, so that was very close to a net 0, but that was a negative. Even in the Oklahoma game, there were 2 turnovers and 2 plays of 20 yards or more for a net 0. West Virginia last year was 29th nationally with 71 plays of 20 yards or more, so about 5.5 per game. Now, here's a number that speaks to the margin of error when it comes to this and what we were saying about there were opportunities to take advantage of some things on Saturday that West Virginia just didn't do. You weren't far off from your average, right? If you average 5.5 plays per game of 20 yards or more, and you had 4 on Saturday, that's not far off. Because you also missed how many explosive plays that were there that turned into drops.
Right.
So you really, again, you weren't a Grand Canyon away from hitting the big plays that you need to keep them going. So that was something to me that said, okay, this team on Saturday will come back out and you'll have a bunch of those, right? Chances are real good you're going to double up or more the number of explosive plays versus turnovers on Saturday, which will partly lead to the outcome being a little bit different. The wide receivers, just a 53 team receiving grade. They just simply, that's the area to me that has to take a massive leap forward. This receiving group has to be better. One, catch it. Don't want to be talking about drops all season again, right? That we didn't talk about that many times last year. A couple times it popped up, cost you games, but for the most part, they held on to the football. Got to catch the ball, got to win some one-on-ones. Running game, 3.4 yards per carry, which tied your lowest output in the last 2 years. So as we know, no big plays there. But here's what's interesting, and hopefully for West Virginia's sake, this is a Penn State defense that ends up being elite, and that's what leads to this. West Virginia broke a tackle on 31% of its runs, which is pretty good. Yeah. If I was Penn State, I'd be worried that they had that many missed tackles. So West Virginia broke a tackle on 31% of its runs, but averaged only 2 yards per carry after contact. That tells you the swarming nature of Penn State and the speed in which they closed the gap once the first guy made contact. Normally, you break 31% of tackles, you're going to bust some big plays there. Yep. Right? Not just 2 yards after there's contact. So again, some of this stuff you try and ferret out between, was it West Virginia didn't do something? Was it Penn State did it to you? And is it repeatable for other Big 12 teams? You're going to see some good defenses. I think you hope if you're West Virginia that Penn State ends up being what you think it is, and you look back like you did last year and go, yep, they were top 3 in every category. Because if so, those numbers should matter. You get your tackles to play like they did Saturday, and you're going to win some games. You're going to keep people off Garrett in this league. You're not going to face 2 pass rushers with that elite ability like you did against Penn State. Normally, you get 31% of your runs through a tackle, you're going to bust some big plays. You just didn't on Saturday.
That's a great number, that you're only getting 2 yards after the initial contact. But that is what identifies great defenses. You could see it Saturday. Yes. I mean, Penn State's defense strikes you, and they get there in a hurry, and they get there in a bunch. And that is what great defense is about. It's just a quickness and a strength, and there's great collisions, and they have all that. And again, we don't know yet what that defense is going to become. We'll know, in 6-7 weeks from now when we look at Penn State games and we see what they're doing with other teams, we might look back and go like, yeah, that was a super defense, or wow, they weren't as good as we thought. One of the two. But my hunch is, based upon their personnel, they're going to be really good all year long.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think you saw that. Brad, the receivers need to do a better job, obviously, of winning one-on-one battles. But we've talked about this before. I mean, those D-backs were elite, and typically in a game, you'll see the D-backs that you're playing against make some mistakes. Oh, a guy's wide open, guy went the wrong way. You just didn't see that. He didn't get any breaks. Didn't get any breaks from them making huge defensive mistakes.
Yep. All those numbers courtesy of PFF, by the way.
Good numbers.
So good work by them. So again, I don't know that gave us any answers necessarily, but I think it speaks to some things to watch and see if you can do it moving forward. And again, I think the overarching theme that I'm coming out with is just those missed opportunities, number one. Things that you will do against most other teams and have success with didn't happen against Penn State, and your best player didn't have his best game. I can't imagine that Garrett won't get that turned around and look like the Garrett Green we know in the coming weeks here.
I think what's optimistic is that even though West Virginia didn't get even 100 yards on the ground, that the running backs and the linemen graded high. That's encouraging.
I think that's super encouraging.
That tells you were doing the right things, but you were up against a really good defense.
Yeah, so. and again, that was given some drops on some big explosive plays. That was not being able to capitalize in the red zone. That was on some major drops on what were some wide open balls and throws that could have changed the outcome of the game. So again, you did some things well, not enough to win that game, not enough to make it closer, but maybe moving forward, all hope is not lost here.
Spreads on Stats brought to us by the Conley CPA Group. So he said they're not a Grand Canyon away from being really good, more of a Decker's Creek.
Yeah, like a Decker's Creek.
You don't want to go Summersville Lake, do you?
Go Mon River?
No, it didn't feel Summers. Again, the final score felt Summersville Lake-ish, but I don't.
You think it's more of a Deckers Creek?
I think there were some things in there offensively that can get turned around pretty quickly.
Find out. Business owners.
One last thing, I'll just say this: if West Virginia's 2 tackles play like that again, you're gonna have some stuff. Those guys, Milam and Malone. Really nice games.
You think if
against 2 elite dudes.
You think if Wyatt and Nick get some blocks out there, you think Jaheim might be able to turn the corner a couple times?
I think he can pop a couple. I think 6 will pop a couple.
And by midway third quarter, I want Wyatt Milam watching the game.
Ooh. Okay. See what we can do. Business owners, if you've been putting off a new phone system, what you waiting for? Many benefits to a new phone system from Comax. They are the premier business system office equipment dealer in the state of West Virginia, and they have every opportunity for you to get that business phone system. They'll come in, give you a free price quote, and when it comes to buying it, you can do it whatever way you want to do it. You want to purchase, you want to lease, you want to rent, whatever it is, sign it away, put it on Hoppy's credit card. Comax Business Systems.
Excuse me?
You just know businesses out there they've been holding back on a business phone system. Give Comax an opportunity, and they'll give you an offer that you just can't refuse. All right. I mentioned at the top of the show, activation of a sponsorship.
Yes.
Just moments before we went on to record here on this non-live show, the folks from our newest sponsor, Tudor's Biscuit World, came in. And husband-wife combo. We've got Lori and we've got George. And
terrific.
They brought us.
They were terrific.
They brought us a
terrific.
very large box.
Holding it.
That says, as you can see, breakfast, lunch, dinner, catering, call ahead and pick up. Inside that box, let's do a reveal. I know what it is. It is the grilled chicken wrap. Each wrap
I'm starving,
stuffed with
too.
tender grilled chicken, fresh lettuce, shredded Colby Jack cheese, available in 3 irresistible flavors.
Yeah.
You know what's in there? Savory Southwest, zesty ranch, and bold barbecue. Those of us in the industry call that B squared. Bold barbecue. They introduced these grilled chicken
I don't know
wraps.
that anybody calls it B squared, do they?
I just did.
Huh.
They came out with these chicken wraps this summer, and they go along with 3 mouth-watering sauces. Already famous for its breakfast wraps. Take a look, folks. For $4.99, you're eating chicken wraps from Tudor's Biscuit World. Special shout-out to George. He's a P1 listener.
Yeah.
And over time, Lori, the wife, has also become a listener. So her favorite part is textual healing.
They came up from the Fayetteville franchise.
They're terrific.
George had a nice, fine-looking Phil shirt on.
He did. He
did look good.
Yeah, he went over there.
Yeah.
So as we can't talk with our mouth full, but I will guarantee you this: moments. It might not last. Moments after this show is recorded because
I'm starving.
Were you going to?
You want to eat yours now?
No, I don't want to do that. I mean, I appreciate that, but
you're going to when you drive over the mountain, you're going to have one with you.
Yeah,
now, do you have another shirt, or are you wearing that shirt tonight?
I have another shirt.
Good.
That you're wearing tonight.
I have another
good.
shirt and suit. So I'm
okay. Good. I was going to recommend don't eat that while you're driving. And
appreciate it.
Thank
Yes,
you. Good to see you
on it.
So you got this big thing you're doing over at Shepherd Day. What's it called? Pepperoni Roll Olympics. What is it?
It's Beyond Pepperoni Rolls. It's put on by the Stubblefield Institute there, and we're having
Dana.
No.
Dana Stubblefield?
No.
Different
That's
Stubblefield.
an old school reference.
And never mind. But we're Senator Manchin, Senator Capito, and the point is to try to get beyond just the obvious pepperoni roll is a big part of West Virginia. I get it. But let's do a deeper dive about why we are the way we are in West Virginia, our culture, our heritage. And one of the things, I'm going to slip this in, by the way. I'll let you guys know. They don't know this. I'm going to slip this in. You know, what draws us all together?
Yeah.
What connects us?
Yeah.
So
Connection.
I will get in a 304 reference.
Excellent. Very good.
Yeah.
By the way, if you're thinking about connecting in West Virginia,
if you really want to help this program out, what you would do is go, I know we're here to talk about pepperoni rolls and what makes it special, but have you seen the grilled chicken wrap from Tudor's Biscuits? I want to throw one of those in there.
I'll just do a NASCAR. You know,
I just like to say thank everybody at Connection 304 Parkersburg Brewing. They're fine folks out there that put this together. I've had one each night for dinner in the last 2 nights. Connection 304.
I mean, it is a good beer.
It's very good. Yeah, we'll talk more about that.
Yeah, because those are selling like hotcakes, as we
knew
they would.
I'm going to